Peace, brother.
How you doing, brother?
I am doing excellent. Hotep, how are you?
I'm well. Everything is well. Could be, but we're working at it.
Yes, sir, absolutely. And I've been telling people all week since you gave me the news that you definitely had a special announcement for the people and for everybody who was on the show and who have been listening to me from that particular point when you gave me the instructions to call in today, log on and listen, because you definitely need the community's help, and there's a special message that you want to give. And normally when I'm in the presence of, it's not normally, what I do when I'm in the presence of great teachers is I fall back and just let you have the whole particular floor. So this is your format, brother. Don't feel like I have to ask you questions for you to go in. I want you to go ahead and do what you do on the subject matter, and or you can just go in and give us a special message. It's just
well.
I
just want to let first of all thank. I'm sorry. I didn't. You're breaking up a little bit, and I'm not sure when you stop speaking because it goes in and out every now and then. Hello?
Okay, can you hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you a little better now.
Okay, yeah. But yeah, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Well, I don't want to monopolize the floor with just, troubles. I want to also continue to do what I do, and that is to serve the needs of the brothers and sisters, the people. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. I don't want anybody to, to get too spooked or too crazy about this. We want it to be just a silent transition, a very smooth transition from one situation to the next. Over the past couple of weeks to about a month or so, we've been handed some paperwork based upon the misdeeds and the adventures of a good brother who we've been working with for the past 6 years. We have been tenants of one of his properties, and it appears that he had gone into foreclosure, and now the bank that bought the house does not want to honor the lease that we had with this brother. The lease is a specific type of lease which we would improve the property, and in so doing, the specific amount that we would pay to him would be a little less. The bank itself states that it doesn't want to honor that particular part of the lease or pretty much any of the lease, and we have been working very hard in the courts to delay the inevitable possession or taking of possession of the actual house. What we're trying to do is to find comparable surroundings so that we could set our offices up and be the way we were for the people and have the institution viable for the people the way we have for the last 6 years. Just to get everybody a little bit of history, we were the first to begin an online live teaching university. Most online universities just send you materials. They give you some paperwork for you to do your own work and then hand it in, and then you're given scores in your email and so forth. But no, we took a specific service that was used primarily by professionals, CEOs of big companies that wish to communicate with members of their organization, corporations around the world. And it was an interface tool via internet, and we used it instead to set up a worldwide network where we would begin to teach people via a university, a private university, that we would have online, teaching what they would not teach in the colleges. And we did that 6 years ago. And our good brother, our beloved elder, my teacher, Dr. Jeffries, called me one day and said to me, that he had heard that I was teaching live online, and that he wanted to know more about that because they were setting up schools for young men in Accra, over in the motherland. So he used the same principle that we did, and before we know it, this particular thing began to expand. We had students all around the world at that time. The economy was a little bit better, so we had students in Japan. We had students in South Korea, in London, England, the Virgin Islands, all across the United States, and we were spreading the word. We were giving the brothers and sisters the higher teachings, the arcane teachings in the form of metapsychology, the form of classical naturopathy and hygienic sciences, as well as Medunetia. We have on our staff right now one of the premier linguists in the country in Dr. Raketi. She is the one, along with my wife, Dr. Nalani, who teaches Medunetia here at our university. And, of course, Dr. Nalani has been a linguist for the last 30 years. She has taught in university there in New York University American Sign Language. She teaches the deaf language and has done that for that many years in the university system in New York. Dr. Raketi is presently on the staff and the faculty of the University of Mississippi, where she teaches French at this time, but she also has taught Chinese, Amharic, as well as the Medunetia to those of her people. So we have a very powerful staff of people and others that are waiting to come on once we've been able to expand our university's capabilities and our services. But just to let everybody know that we've been doing this, we were one of the forerunners and pioneers in conducting online classes and what they now call webinars. We were one of the first people to do that in the capacity of a learning tool, a teaching tool as well. So our little institution, this little mom and pop institution that we've got, has been outsourcing and bringing young brothers and sisters into the knowledge for this length of time. And right now we are kind of reaching out to the community so that we can smoothly make the transition should we not be able to hold off the bank. We would like to make a smooth transition into another facility so that we can not break our communications with the people. We not only have our university here, brothers and sisters, we are doctors of naturopathy. If you've known anything about me, you know that back in the days, in the late 70s, going into the 80s, through the 80s and 90s, I started at a place called Heal Thyself, Natural Living Education Center with Queen Afua and myself. We built that up. So we were doctors of naturopathic medicine. Then I met my wife, Dr. Nalani, and we've taken it to the Temple of the Healing Spirit, University of Commission Sciences, as well as Whole Wellness Live, which we also conduct consultations online around the world, from around the world. So I have been a doctor of naturopathic medicine, serving the brothers and sisters for a long time, and should my connection to brothers and sisters be broken because we do not have a foundation, a place where we can actually work from so that I can communicate and they can communicate with us, that is going to be cause a little difficulties to those people, especially the elders that are in our care, that we have to talk to and interface with. A lot of people, a lot of you brothers and sisters out there, you just know me because I've been running my mouth and getting crazy on YouTube and in the videos. I teach my love, which is metaphysics and the higher sciences, but I'm also practically and assiduously, I am a doctor of naturopathic medicine. So I have something that most people don't know, that is that I teach people how to heal themselves. So the other side is now in jeopardy. That side that most people are not too familiar with, that side is in jeopardy. Just to give the brothers and sisters another heads up on a first that our organization was, I'm the first in the African communities around the country to have formulated a vaccination exemption package with letters from the church stipulating that those members who are part of our church do not and will not take vaccinations. And we have been, instrumental in making sure that people can send their children into these education systems and not have their children poisoned by these needles. We were the first to formulate that in New York, and 3 times my paperwork was brought before the courts, and 3 times I beat the Board of Education in court. And, of course, they don't like me. They've tried many different ways to sidestep my paperwork, But the brothers and sisters who are in that or who have my paperwork, they know that they can call me right there. I've even had the ability to have one of my young students go to Mississippi State College and get in on a vaccination exemption for religious exemption when the state of Mississippi does not have a vaccination exemption for religious purposes. So even without state's religious purposes, he's standing there at the bursar's office arguing with the secretary with me on the other end of the phone. I asked them to call a supervisor, and on that phone for a half hour, I gave them law. I put it to them, and what they did was they ended up calling back and saying, well, we'll let you in for now, but we will notify you if there's any change. I said, you've won, my young brother, because once they let you in, that's it. They can't take you out and countermand what it is that they let you in with. So we have been fighting the good fight for the last 30 years very quietly to change. And a lot of brothers and sisters have stepped in and taken advantage of things, of podiums that the elders like myself and Queen Afua and Brother Samaj, Brother Kafra, Brother Bobby Hemmett, Brother Delbert Blair, Sister Jewel Pukram, Sister Myra L. We've been kind of the ones that prepared that platform where it was not very popular, so that now young brothers are coming out, they're super astute, these powerful young warriors and young sisters coming out and dropping these heavy sciences. It does my heart good, but it does my heart good to know also, just quietly, that I celebrate within myself that we were instrumental in providing a platform for that kind of conscious information on that level to come out, because I stand on the shoulders of my Dr. Benz and Dr. Clark's, Dr. Clark, who was a personal mentor and friend who I would talk to, and Dr. Van Sertima and Dr. Amos Wilson. All of these these elder brothers were the ones who handheld us, and they did the history, and I felt that there was a gap in the knowledge, so I filled in by giving the mystery. So where they went with the history and taught about us and what we did practically, I went and said, well, what is it? Where were we thinking? What was our mind going? What was the mind of Imhotep doing? What was he thinking about? What were they contemplating when they meditated? This is what I wanted to know. What was the mind of our ancestors doing? How did they calculate? What were they calculating? So with those two sides of the brain working, the conscious brain, the social brain working, we're bringing out some young brothers and sisters who are out there like yourself, like the Pills, Brother Rashid, and some of the other younger brothers that are out there that are just kicking it live. And I'm very proud of them. But I just wanted to let everybody know that right now we're in a crisis at this point, and we have a website, which is our university's website, and it's UKSNOW. That's U as in United, K as in King, S as in Science, NOW.org. And when you go up there, there's a button that says Give Your Gift. Now, we're not asking for donations. We're not asking for you to give contributions. All these nomenclatures fall under and are copyrighted by the IRS and those people. So when you use those, it falls under their jurisdiction. But the word gift is a personal thing. So we ask you to gift to us. And if you gift $35 or more, we will send you the latest download of what I did. My very latest download, my latest webinar that I conducted, that the brothers Red Pill, Blue Pill, and I forgot the names of the other brothers. They just escaped me. Please forgive me. But those brothers just came to my rescue. They put this on. These brothers were intrepid. They were powerful. We went through a lot of problems, and I asked the forgiveness of the people who had actually paid in their monies and said that, and waited out the hours too that we were trying to get the technical difficulties together. But from what I understand from Red Pill, the final product is smoking. It's looking good. And for those of you who did pay in for that seminar, that webinar, it will be coming to you in 3 parts from what I understand, because there's so much information that it may clog up your computer and you will not be able to run it. So it will be coming to you in 3 parts, I believe, in an hour and a half in each segment. And with that, if you just push the button that's on there that says "Give Your Gift" on the website, that's uksnow.org. Once you push the button, you'll be put right into the PayPal. If you give 35 or more, or you gift 35 or more, we will send you that download. I just want to also say, if I may, please, before I turn the mic back over to you, Brother Anpu, we were just gifted a substantial gift from King Flex Entertainment. Now, I'm not sure who King Flex Entertainment is. Maybe you might know. But I want to tell them, may the Creator, Amen, and Ra, and all of them bless you. Whomever you are, brother, sister, you are definitely going to be in our thoughts, in our hearts, in our prayers. You will be one of the names that we put on our altar. And that's no little thing, because people we put on our altar always have serious things come back to them, good things. So just for all the brothers and sisters who have given their small amounts, give thanks to you. But for what it is that the brothers or sisters at King Flex, and I guess the King Flex meaning a brother, brothers, in King Flex Entertainment, we embrace you spiritually. We embrace you for even thinking the way you did to give your gift in that manner. And please, always put it as a gift. Do not put it as a donation for any brothers and sisters. Make sure that when you definitely title it, make sure you title it as a gift. All right, Brother Anpu, I guess I haven't run my mouth enough.
Oh, no, brother. I'll tell you the floor is totally yours. But, again, the website is www.uksnow.org. For those in the chat room, we dropped the long link, which is commetaphysics.org, and then we dropped the shorter one, which is uksnow.org. All right, and make sure that you do just that. You click on the button that says "Give Your Gift." So if you're going to send it another way, make sure that it's titled "Gift." All right, because the elders definitely need our help. And I always say when I love Phil Valentine, I love. But now it's time to really just step up to the plate. And as many listeners and followers and just supporters, I would say, and people who I know who love you, if we all chipped in, we'd be surprised at a minimum amount that we can give that will actually turn into a substantial amount that will actually make this very, very easy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Very, very, very easy,
Yes. Yes, it's like the multitude, the small amounts, one little drop. It took drop by drop to make the Grand Canyon, trust me. Just a little bit of water rolling down the side of the hill.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, it is.
Yes, brother. But with that said, brother, I just wanted to get into, I was looking at the Olmec Mayan thing. The 2012 is coming. What 2012 is really about, I'm studying the 260-day count. I was able to find some significant things for me, personally, that transpired for me. And I just wanted to get some clarity on the Olmecs and the Mayans. Who are they? Are they the same? Who built the pyramids? Who had the calendar system? Was it a fight between the two? I don't know. It's like, where do you go to really get a validated source? And the very first person that popped up to my mind, I said, Brother Phil got to know that. Yeah, I know he knows this. So that's why I reached out for him.
Good, thanks. Well, I'll tell you, a lot of what we are seeing, first you have to get a historical perspective. The solstice for December 21st, 2012, at supposedly 11 a.m. Imagine, 11 minutes past 11 o'clock is when supposedly universal time that is the completion of the great cycle of the ancient Maya. What the cycle is called a Bakatun. And that particular completion is supposed to have been given as the ancients who were actually the clock watchers of the universe. They were not just looking at time the way the European has put time on his arm for his mundane purposes to acquire wealth or just to acquire material things. Our ancestors looked to the stars and dealt with the time that consciousness went through its cycles of 12. And on the 13th, that's where they talk about every 13,000 years. On the 13th o'clock, which is they say always 1 year meaning 1,000. What happens is that every cycle of 13, the 13 being the Christ number, supposedly the Christ number, represents a higher octave or a higher shifting of consciousness or a higher shifting of awareness to an area that was pre-triangulated by the quantum collective development of consciousness as we see the pattern of the earth took place. So let me just explain that. The earth itself is a orb of consciousness. The earth itself, with all life forms on it, brings together a collective consciousness. So humanity, birds, trees, fish, dolphin, alligators, everything that we are collectively as a consciousness comes together and usually gives off a specific quantum note. So just imagine that each one of us has a specific note, E, B, D, and older musicians know what I'm talking about. Just imagine that everything that is alive is broadcasting a specific note on its own species wavelength. Well, the species wavelength as well as the planet's wavelengths are interlaced so that the actions of consciousness interface to form one dynamic consciousness orb, a collective consciousness. Well, that collective consciousness has a direction because it would never come together and have no direction. It's impossible for the consciousness to have collected in such a manner and not have a direction as an outlet. Well, that's what happens to all inhabited planets where life forms are creating and forming a collective consciousness. It is being guided to that collective consciousness's end. So the earth itself now, our ancestors, after having gone around this carousel of light that we are presently on for the last 64 billion years, because that's when the so-called Mayan calendar was calculated to have begun. It is a $64 billion money, 64 billion year. That's a $64 million question. The 64 billion year cycle. So it is nothing new for us to come to this position because it was predestined and predated by our ancestors. Just imagine that you have a schedule that you write in that you must meet. For instance, Brother Anpu, you and I made a schedule to come together today at 6:15 so that I would call in. Well, that's exactly how our ancestors scheduled humanity's next consciousness. Okay, how are we going to be? What's going to happen at this point? Well, we're going to schedule that in and leave it in the rocks, in our petroglyphs, We're going to leave it in our scrolls. We're going to make sure that our children know that at this particular time, here's what's going to happen. Well, a little bit on this so-called Maya. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm with you.
Okay. Now, at this particular time, let's get a little bit of mystery, take the mystery out of the history of the Maya. We know that the Maya and who they were for a long period of time, these were the Africans that had migrated out of Africa to this point, that much of their cosmology matched the cosmology of ancient Kemet. Okay, there's nothing new in the ancient Mayan cosmology that was not in ancient Kemet at the same time, because ancient Kemet also, as I shown in one of my lectures, I'm not sure which one it was, when I was doing the, I think it was hyperdimensional warfare, where I showed you that in the Dendera calendar, that they marked off the conjunction of Scorpio and Sagittarius, and at that point, they knew right where we were going to be entering come December 21st, 2012. This is not news. This is not news to the ancient Kemites. It was not news to any of the ancients because the Chinese had something as well. It's just that it became popular because of Jose Arguelles and his book, The Mayan Prophecies, or The Mayan Factor. But the Mayans were not the initiators of the Mayan calendar. Let's get that straight. It was the ones that they called the Olmecs. Now, the Olmecs were not really the Olmecs as well. The Olmecs were given that name by the head curator of the Native American Museum up on 155th Street back in the 1902s, and they gave them that name when they began to discover amongst the Mayan ruins and further away from certain so-called Mayan temples, artifacts. Now, the big discovery happened when a migrant worker dug up the farm, on the farm, digging on the farm, I think it was in 1902 or 1912 or 1913, I'm not sure of the date. He's digging on the farm, and as they're digging on the farm, they come up on something stone because they have to go a certain depth. And they dug up this stone head, and that's why they called it the Olmec problem, because when they started finding all these artifacts with African faces, they did not know where to put these African faces in the history that they had already been giving out as the truth as far as North American and South American history was concerned, in accordance with the Europeans. They didn't know where to put it, so they called it the Mayan, the Olmec problem, and for like 20 years, they didn't put this information into any of the history books, and they kept it off the radar screen until some people, some other young scientists started saying, well, what are we going to do with all this stuff we keep digging up? The more we look into the Mayans, the more we find the Olmecs. Well, the Mayans, what you come to find out, said that the Olmecs were our fathers. And they weren't called the Olmecs, they were called the Tamoancan. Now, the Tamoancan is actually a place. Now, just imagine that the Tamoancan, or the so-called Olmecs, were so advanced, were so powerful in the knowledge that they had, that the native peoples at that time in that area called where they lived, where they were, Tamoancan. And Tamoancan was like Garden of Eden at that time. So when the people who still live in that region up in the hills talk of their folklore, they speak about the Tamoancan. And when you show them pictures of the Olmecs, they point to them and say Tamoancan. So we don't call them, I've never called them the Olmecs. That was just a name given to them because they're the first ones to use the rubber ball and play basketball with it, except that they used to try to hit the ball into the hoop with their hips. So they were given the name rubber people, which was, again, a nomenclature that most people just gave to them because they worked with the rubber trees and the sap trees and made toys, made all kinds of different artifacts out of the gum and resin that came from that tree. So they just put them into a ball and actually were the first ones to start talking about galvanizing the rubber, which the Europeans used in their Industrial Revolution. So the so-called Mayan calendar had its origins in the Olmec Tamoancan peoples. And so the information as far as what it meant and who it was about, the fact that we are cycling around the Hunab-Ku being the central sun of our specific universe galaxy, that we have thousands upon thousands of universes, not only in the visible spectrum, but in the invisible spectrum above us in higher elevations of consciousness that are cycling around this central consciousness called Hunab-Ku. I also said about 10 years ago that we should watch the astrologers as we begin to move towards 2012. And in my lectures, I stated that all kinds of new planets are going to be popping up all over the place. You're going to be seeing that they're going to be coming out and saying, we found another planet, or we found this. And we're going to start saying, oh, we checking out. There's a whole lot of sources and life and this. Of course, that's because our solar system is slowly drawing to the area and the time when we were interfaced back then with people from other galaxies and cosmic neighborhoods. So now we're getting ready to interface, but the present people who are on this planet don't want to be friends with any of those people that are out there. That's why they're setting up all these war tactics and going to war against those who are coming back to try to stop what is happening here to the people. Now, a lot of people, I don't speak on this because most people think I'm crazy because I'm talking about green men and all that type of nonsense. If you believe that you are the only one on this planet, brothers and sisters, or this universe, you got a problem. You're thinking like white people. You think that because you're the only type, that kind of mentality is why Europeans act the way they do. They think that they're the only ones that need to be alive, that they're the only ones that God chose, that they're the only ones blah, blah, blah. So if they think like that and you think that there's no other life in God's universe, then you're thinking like a European, myopic, with his pineal gland calcified, so he can't see beyond his own structure, his own self, his own denatured recessive self. So he will always think that there's nobody else or pretend that there's nobody else in this universe but him and make you believe that. Anyway, just moving along, let me just speak about the fact that that we are definitely getting into an awakening, that it's not just 2012, that the cycle is actually 2012 through to 2020. Even the great Mayan priests who are today keeping watch on the clock are saying that 2012, and I've said this since 1997, that we really entered into the cycle that is supposed to be 2012. We entered it back in 1997, and that 2012 will simply be a doorway through that we will be definitely going through some changes to 2020, when 2020, which is when we begin to see, 2020, when we begin to see clearly, that's the time when we will have our awakening. Now, in accordance with tomorrow, somebody says that we're going to be going through the rapture. I think some guy, I think his name is Harold Camping or something. He has predicted that the dead will, I'm sorry?
No, right. Everybody's talking about it, right. Mm-hmm.
Right, everybody thinking that we're going to be dead tomorrow, and that actually it's the rapture tomorrow, and the end of the world, I think, is sometime in October. So he's saying that a great earthquake is supposed to take place, which we already know and we predicted. I've always said that HAARP was the one that actually caused the earthquake in Haiti, that HAARP caused the earthquake in Peru. HAARP caused the earthquake and was managed the earthquake over in Japan. The HAARP signatures were very hot over in Japan. They even have a portable HAARP now, brothers and sisters, a portable HAARP. Okay? They've created a new laser family that can actually rip and distort the space-time continuum. This laser is so powerful that it can actually cause rips and tears in the space-time continuum. Now, you don't start creating lasers like that unless you think there's a threat coming from somewhere. Why did they stop, or why did they discontinue NASA? Why is NASA no longer getting funded? Why is NASA and the space shuttle no longer going up? Because all that money now is going into private organizations, and we spoke about this about 5 years ago, that they will be decommissioning parts of the government. And the money that Barack Obama stole from the people, that $12 trillion, is going into a whole new Earth defense system. We have a whole new armada of spaceships that fly in space that will carry this type of laser. Okay? And, of course, the movies that you see, every movie that has to do with big budgets, all have the complete destruction and the complete annihilation of our planet as the theme, that we are going to be invaded by something or someone of greater technological skills. We talked about this about 10, 15 years ago when we spoke about the wing makers, and we spoke about the movie that came out called Independence Day, when they introduced the character who was the head of a group called the Labyrinth Group, which is above top secret. This was so above top secret that even the people who are dealing in the Pentagon and people who are dealing in the presidency, and these people didn't know. They called this man 15. And when they made the description of this dude named 15, the doctor who spoke about this, who came out on this, who was part of the Labyrinth group, described 15, and he looked exactly like the character that was the head of Area 51 in Independence Day. Now, 15, and this was happening like 20 years ago. This happened back in 1960s, 70s, 80s, around that time. 15 was a super genius, supposedly, that had stumbled upon a particular labyrinth of rooms that were dug into the rock somewhere out in the Mexican desert, some Mexican desert where the mountains were there, and they discovered this cave that had all these rooms, and in these rooms there were these electronic equipment, super electronic equipments, that were supposed to fast forward the consciousness and intelligence of this planet so that it would catch up, or at least be at par with the intelligence of the people that they were about to encounter. Now, the encountering was not going to be fair, because the people that we're supposed to be encountering in the future are supposed to take us over. Not only are they not humans, but they are part human, part machine. Now, this is deep, because this was before we started talking Borg, because this is where we began seeing the Borg come in. This is when Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these movies started coming out with the Terminator, all about this artificial half human or half organic, half synthetic. This was something that they took from the information that leaked from the Labyrinth group. Well, they said the same thing that the so-called Borg do. The Borg do not evolve naturally or internally. The Borg evolve by assimilating you. So now, whatever's going on, however it's going on, and whether you want to believe it or not, we are told that the human race is the most molested, how do you say it, not interfered with. We have been the one that has been the most manipulated. That's the word. The most manipulated creature by so many other entities that there was, I think it was Carlos himself, Aguirre, and a number of other of the ancient teachers said that by 2004, 2005, an edict was made that everyone who was not a part of the genetic stream and timeline of the human race was supposed to get off the planet by 2004. This was the directive that was given by the so-called Galactic Confederation. Get off, let the humans come back into their own, let them get back to their genetic memory of the line of consciousness that they were supposed to evolve along, and everybody was up, but not everybody wants to get off. There are entities here that they say are so-called reptiles. These people don't want to get off, because they've been living off of us. They've been parasites living off of our the consciousness energies that we've had, and they're also living off of the DNA structure that we have as African peoples. Everybody say, well, we got to come back to the 12-strand. Well, no 12-strand in the original African God-man. It's 22 strands. Okay? It's 22 strands. And I don't believe that the so-called recessive really has genes, the genes like we do. I believe that they have been, and I know it's going to sound off the chain, and it's going to sound crazy, I believe that they have been pirating, or at least replicating what are like genes from us. That true genes of the true humans are nothing like the genes of these entities that look like they're humans, but if you really were to get their blood, understand what they're about, you would find out that they don't have the same type of genetics that you do. And I'm not just talking about the Europeans. I'm talking about there's entities here who I call the parasitic elite. They are here and don't have an internal structure anything like yours. So I know I strayed, but I have to give you a composite of what's going on before we start talking about walking through that particular Stargate and that timeline called 2012. Are you any questions? Anything you wanted to ask me, brother?
Oh, sure. Wait a minute. I had somebody had put something in the chat, and the question was, where did you get the original name? Where did Dr. Phil find out the original name, going back to the Olmecs?
The Tomoankan came when I began doing research into the Olmec heads and began to look at, I'm not sure where it was that I saw it, but I will give you clues for you to go and look for yourself. But put in the word Tamoanchan. Tamoanchan. That's Tomoankan. And what you find is that they'll say it was a place, that it was a mythical place. Just like they said Egypt was the land of light, and it was a mythical place in their own mind.
Okay, he got it. He said, thank you. Yeah, no problem, brother.
Look at it. Yeah.
All right. My question, we talk about these different beings. Are they in human form?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it's funny because I'm not a fan of David Icke. He's a racist. He may be one of them himself. But I did see something that made me have to say, whoa. And it's very, very seldom that I go, whoa. Because I pretty much, in my old age, I've seen some pretty crazy things in my life, from death to bringing babies into the world. It was the day that Obama was supposed to give his surprise announcement. And I started to watch this black op false flag nonsense unfolding. Well, I was watching television, and usually if I'm watching it, it's in news or I'm looking at a science channel or something. And if I'm scanning anything else, I'm looking at the Sci-Fi channel to see what it is they're trying to leak out to the people's consciousness. So I'm looking at this CNN broadcast, and then it switches to this woman. And this is live, family, live. It switches to a woman, and she starts talking about how the president is about to make an announcement, and this announcement is blah, blah, blah. The people now say that, that the gathering and all this crap. Suddenly, I'm looking at the woman, and her left eye started dropping as if somebody had a little, thread on one of her eyelashes and started pulling them down. I'm saying, what's going on with her eye? And I ease up on the television, and I'm saying, what the hell is that? Okay, now she drops her head like she's reading, and I guess she collects herself, and her eye goes back to normal. And then all of a sudden, and I put my hand up, and I put my hand on the Perth-Hemaru, and I swear before with my hand on the Perth-Hemaru, the left side of her left eye closed vertically. In other words, inside the eyelid, another lid closed over half the pupil. Then all of a sudden she started blinking uncontrollably. And she dropped her head again. And I'm saying, am I watching this? This is live TV. And then as she started putting her head up to finish talking, and she was about to explain something that I know was going to take another 30 seconds to a minute long, she cut it off and said, listen, let's go back to the so-and-so and so. And as she was just now cutting off, the rest of her eye started closing. That lid started closing over her eye. And then, boom, they went right back to the other reporter. Now, I said, hold on. Hold on. Now, somebody else sent me, because when I sent it down, when I flushed it down the Facebook family pipe, somebody sent me back a picture and said, you said that you saw something going on. Was this the person? Now, I didn't remember what the person looked like. I was too busy looking at her eyes, but she did have black hair. But these entities, whatever they are, whoever they are, and like I said, I ain't into David Icke or none of that. But when I saw what I saw, you know that if I see something and I say that this is not what happened and it's something that did happen, I'm going to come back and tell you, look, I saw it.
Right.
And I saw it. And it was incredible because it was a first-hand experience. It wasn't like something that you go up on YouTube and you turn on and you say, the reptilians are here. Watch the eye do this. Watch the skin start changing. No, it wasn't like that. It was right there live on TV. It was about them switching back and forth to build up this nonsense about bin Laden. And she was there definitely morphing, and definitely what was ever happening to her was happening to her live.
Mm. That's yes. Woo, man, that's the other stuff, man. Jesus.
Yeah, but then I don't want to get too I don't want to get too far off the track. If you have anything dealing with the dark rift, what the Mayans called the Black Road, or they called it Sibalba Be. We spoke all about that in our that we had put out. We had spoken, extensively in a number of our lectures about that, and the brothers who have our work on the streets, if they hadn't changed a lot of our, if they hadn't changed the names, then I guess you could try, the Olmec Mayans. I believe it's called the Cosmic Science of the Olmec Masters.
Okay.
And also, like I said, the Great Alignment Zone was in 1998, which is 18 years, which is equal to 1980, which is then equal to 2016. This is that area or era of 2012. Like I said, everything will happen as time stops. In other words, the consciousness matrix and the how can I say, the life of that energy. Let's just say that there is, say a battery has a life that after it's used up, it just becomes a shell. There's no more energy in it. Well, just calculate that as consciousness, a specific type of consciousness that was contrary to the spiritual nature of humanity, what it is that we went through as a cycle, that cycle is ended. That quantum reality has ran out of power. And that specific quantum reality that we have been feeding from and has been feeding us is now at an end, and therefore, because it has no more juice and it was on its own time cycle, since it's no longer viable, that's the end of time. Time is based upon a perception that humanity has of its reality in opposition to whatever it is that man perceives that he is not or who he is. So time is based upon what man perceives he is not. So he now has that dichotomy to match or to set up quantum packets of realities that have a legacy. And of course, since man now has degenerated so that man ages, then man now has a way to deal with time. Man has a fixed reality called time, but there is no time. There is no such time for the sun. There's no such thing as time for anything outside the confines of what Earth is and what Earth has become. So your illusion of time ends 2012. What you are going to perceive as time, because your consciousness has changed after 2012, time is going to have a whole nother relevance. Your cells are going to think differently because you're going to perceive time differently. Therefore, you may begin to start catching up with what your ancestors knew as timelessness, though they were participating in time. Okay, I think I put everybody to sleep.
Yes, sir. No, brother. And this is amazing because really people are just, you know how people usually be playing around in the chat, people on point. I mean, they're on point, and I'm taking notes, literally. I got a notepad and, a pen in my hand right now.
Beautiful.
But no,
Beautiful.
definitely.
Well, let's open up to the people. Let's see what they have to say.
Yeah, definitely open up the lines here. Brother had mentioned in the chat that the Timur Khan actually came up in North America and built the mounds. We had the Mississippi mound builders and other sacred places in North America. What is your take on North America and these sacred sites and who built these sacred sites?
Every time we talk about building sacred sites, it's always had to do with science. Sacred and science are the same. So know that science, the building of these mounds, was to exchange or to change the energy flow of the planet or of the area that our ancestors were in. Remember, the snake energy was actually the electrical energy that would follow the rocks when you went into caves. It's a kind of electrical charge that they used to be able to manage in order to heal, in order to change the weather, in order to grow crops. So the ancestors used to build mounds in order to change the vectors and dynamics of weather and change the nature of the consciousness of the area that they were in. Mound building was not just for building mounds and saying, okay, look, I'm up here now, we don't build a mound. Mound was about science. It was about changing and controlling and manipulating the geodesic, the geomagnetic energy grid so that it was less harmful to the beings that were there in that area. And yes, the so-called Tamoan Khan and those who had survived a number of the different tragedies that our planet has gone through, because we have been through cataclysms, brothers and sisters. We have been hit by meteors and comets, and our people, our entities have. Just if you look at the Babylonians, they told you the story of the creation of our solar system in their Enuma Elish. The Enuma Elish is actually us looking at the creation of this particular solar system, supposedly the Anunnaki, and we now articulating and documenting the creation out of Tiamat of the planet Earth. Now, it's interesting because the planet Earth has a tear in its side in the story as told in the Enuma Elish that there was a great rift torn from the side of Tiamat, and that great tearing at the side of Tiamat was the creation of our world. Well, that's right in line with the science that the Europeans are now finding out, and that tear is actually in the Pacific Ocean. If you were to look at the topography of the floor of the ocean under the Pacific, it would look like somebody just grabbed up, it's like if you're going to pull out some weed, and you just grabbed up the weed, and you see what the earth looks like, all jagged and torn up. Well, that's exactly what the Pacific floor looks like. The floor of the Atlantic looks nothing like the floor of the Pacific. Now, the floor of the Pacific is so unstable that the continents are drifting towards one another. In other words, the Pacific is getting smaller while the Atlantic is getting larger. And a lot of all of what they call the dragons, what they call it, they talk about the Devil's Triangle down there by Cuba. Well, over in the Pacific, it's the Dragon's Triangle. And if you think the Devil's Triangle is crazy over here in the west, in the east, the Dragon's Triangle is insane over there in the Pacific. Reason why is that area was where the earth was torn from Tiamat. That's why you have all them earthquakes and madness that's going on over there, and that's why we're going to be supposedly at odds with entities that have been living in the ocean. They call them USOs, unidentified submersible objects. Now, they're supposed to have been fighting them, a whole armada and fleet. When Obama went over to the east, he had a whole 2 aircraft carriers, 3 or 4 destroyers, and all kinds of planes hanging off. That was his escort going over to the east. Now, I know that the United States knows that how nefarious and how hated they are all around the world, because they've become, this Pax Americana and super imperialist. But they seriously carried some of the most sophisticated ultra weapons with Obama over there, supposedly because the fleets, the Russian fleets and a lot of the eastern fleets that are over there, the Indian fleets and so forth, were being attacked by these so-called USOs. Why? Because in their search for oil, humans have been digging ever deeper into the oceans, and now they are supposedly finding, now there's movies coming out all about this. In fact, if you saw the new Thor, Loki is supposed to raise a whole other race of entities that nobody knows about that's going to be fighting the so-called Avengers. And like I said, if you look at the movies, you will be able to see them slowly putting out what's getting ready to come down. Slowly but surely, that every time the government meets up with something, they go to Hollywood to kind of get the news that would not be in the news. And notice, they're going to be getting rid of newspapers very soon, family. You ain't going to be seeing the New York Times and the New York Post and all of that, because they're going out of business. Ain't nobody want to read no more because ain't nobody educating nobody anymore. So newspapers are going to go. And the only way they're going to give you the news is through the movies and through through your computer, through your television, and through YouTube.
Right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let me go to the line. We got plenty of people got their hands up. Caller from, let me make sure this internet connects up. Let me see. You at here? Maybe having caller from the 310-569. Peace. Can you hear us? Poo. How you doing, Phil? Valentine?
Okay, who's
this? This is 50 beats.
What's happening, ISIS?
How you doing? All right. I had 2 questions. Now, I keep hearing different. There's a lot of stuff online that's saying that this Olmec calendar is not ending on December 21st, 2012. I've heard one story where they said it's going to end October 28th of this year. And then I just saw something today where it said that it was going to end December 24th of this year.
Yeah, we told you all about that, back in 1997, that the actual date it ended was supposedly in 1997. That's when we started our cycle into the Xibalba. That's why you've been seeing these super hyper moons. 2 and 3 full moons in a month.
The second question is, I came across some information a while back about some kind of spaceships that's in the Antarctica region that the U.S. has been having a war with ever since, I think it's General Byrd from the Navy went down to Antarctica in 1942. Since then,
Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd. The U.S. has been having war with these ships, with these aircrafts that's coming from, that's based in Antarctica. Supposedly, they're supposed to be from the underworld.
Well, they're supposed to be Nazis who made a deal with people from the underworld. The Nazis fled there because I'm not sure if his name is Idris, but a Moor had mapped Antarctica, and what they said about this Moor in Antarctica was that the Antarctica that they know about supposedly got iced over 4,000 years ago. This is their date and time. Now, they found an old map where the world had been mapped. I think it was either Piri or Idris. I'm going to get his name. But he was a Moor and he mapped the Antarctic region. He mapped where there were farms. He mapped where there were trees. Right there on that Antarctic region, right where you see Antarctica. So if they are now estimating that it took 4,000 years to get Antarctica to look like that, who was the one mapping Antarctica?
Right.
And what time were we mapping Antarctica? Don't believe the hype and the history lines that you're looking at, and try your best now to take the information that you're getting on the computers and wherever you're getting them from and begin to start crunching them in your own consciousness. That's where the truth lies. You, and I say this for you so that you can actually start your research from this point. There was never a time that man was not.
Right.
I'm going to say that again. Yeah. There is no beginning to man. Don't believe the 6,000-year bullshit. It's not true. Don't believe you were the slug that came up and then decided to be a fish. Then you decided to be a damn, and then all of a sudden you said, what the hell, I'll be a monkey. And then after that, what the fuck, I'll be a man. The lesser does not create the greater. The greater creates the lesser. Therefore, the crown of all consciousness in physical form, no matter what form it takes, we call it man. Therefore, that had to be God folded over onto itself. God could not create itself as a slug to become a man. You are not a slug that became a man. You may have made some slugs based upon your offcast of the particles of your thoughts, which began to become embodied by the four elements, yeah. But you are the epitome of all that God is in matter. Therefore, God would start with you. And then work its way down.
Right. That's what's up. I appreciate you taking my questions. All right.
All right, beloved. I hope I did. I know it's a short time we have, but we teach this at our university. You should really look into our university and enroll. We have we've dropped our price significantly so that we can get people to join in, and we've made payment schedules that will be comfortable for everyone. Our next semester begins in July, the first week in July, and that's why we're hoping to make a smooth transition from where we are, and that's why we're asking for the help from our family to go up to uksnow.org and just push the Give Your Gift button and give as generously as you can. You know, if you're so-called hard leg out there, a roughneck, and you're over there pimping our people and selling drugs, and you got a wad of a whole lot of money in there, and you're about to suck down some crystal this weekend, put that aside and put it back into your community. Give back to your community, to the people and brothers, not just to me, but to brothers and sisters who are actually doing the work at trying to maintain the torch that were passed on by our forefathers. So we ask you to go there, not just for us, just to help us to feel a little more comfortable, but to maintain the work. Know that when you do gift, you're gifting back to yourself, because we will always be there to give you this kind of information. Brothers and sisters like Brother Bobby, Brother Delbert, Sister Jewel. If you really think that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, then reach out. Reach out to those brothers and sisters. And right now, if it wasn't so serious, we wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't be asking you this, because we don't never ask for anything. You never heard me ask you for anything like this. The only time we ask is for other people. But we're asking you now because there are people who depend on us to be there for them, elderly people who are in our care. So we need that. We need that smooth transition to another place where we can set up shop and continue doing the work. That's why we ask you to go to the website, press the Give Your Gift button, and please give generously. And if you want to learn more and you want to get deep into the higher metaphysics, the arcane sciences, think about joining our University of Commission Sciences. You can go up to the same website and just push the word courses. And when you're ready, just dial us here at area code 386-456-9279. That's again 386-456-9279, and enroll. Enroll in your own future. Enroll and learn what it is they won't teach you in school. They won't dare teach you what we teach you here in school.
Peace to you, Dr. Valentine. Peace to you, Uncle.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yeah. Caller from the 347-252. Peace. Oh, they dropped off. Caller from the 347. All right. Moving on. Caller from the 253-441.
Hey, peace.
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 What's good? That was a great show. This is Imhotep out here in Washington State, the West Coast.
All right.
Yeah, that was a great show.
Big ups to the brothers and sisters of Lemuria.
Yeah. Say it again, so we can pronounce it correctly.
Lemuria, Lemuria, Mu.
Lemuria.
Lemur.
Yeah.
The cat head. You the cat head.
Let me get this straight. So, because in a sense, you're really saying that there is something other than what we consider to be the natural man out there in our presence.
In our presence and around us. And whoever it is that this government is scared of, they are seriously preparing for whatever eventuality that knowledge is about to expose. All we can do is get the information out to the people based up. You see, you can't just look at things because they'll never give it to you face front. Remember I said last year that this year Obama was going to make a couple of great announcements. This one with Bin Laden was something that threw me off. The next one is supposed to be about the fact that extraterrestrials have been here for the last 150 years, has made their presence known in the U.S. government and have been guiding the planetary politics of our world, and that they are going to make themselves known, supposedly. This was supposed to be the great announcement that he was supposed to make. Now, whether or not they changed their minds because of what they are about to encounter or what is about to happen to us on this planet, I'm not sure. But they will never give it to you face front. It's like they're afraid of what humanity will do. The whole cycle, everything that's structured right now, the way we think, how we go to McDonald's, how we go to the movies, and all that will break down. So they can't tell us what's actually happening now. And as I said, as our entire solar system, we are not standing still, family. We are plummeting. We are hurtling through space at 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 miles an hour. And we are flying into neighborhoods that we today have not seen in tens of thousands of years. And therefore, we are going to be interfacing with entities who have been living in these neighborhoods that we have not had contact with or have not been in the proximity of. So know that we are going to be meeting up with entities that live in places in our solar system or around our solar system or around our universe that have been with us before and have been documented in the history books and in paintings and on the rocks, that they have been here, and we have met them before. We've called them names. We've named them. The Dogon have named them. The Dogon told you what their names were. The Nomos.
Okay, do you believe in the theory of no beginning and no end?
I don't believe anything, beloved. I make my assessments based on reason. Belief is actually belief is something that you do when you suspend reason. So I don't suspend reason. I have to look at everything and continue to reason for me to say that this is a truth, this is real or not. But I know for a fact that based on the fact that I have the capacity to know that a God is there. An alligator don't know God or don't even have the concept of God. It is pure body consciousness. It has a consciousness, but it is pure body consciousness, and the shell around it tells you what kind of consciousness it is. The consciousness of an entity creates its own form of locomotion. So the consciousness of a bird is based on the air element. The consciousness of a fish is based on the water element. And these are what's conscious, and those things that participate in that consciousness have a form to match that consciousness. So I am looking at man and what it is that man has developed greater than anything else, and that's his brain, his ability to know into the darkness, to seek God, and to know that an entity greater than himself, who is himself, exists. So I know that there was no beginning to me, because if there was a beginning to me, there would be a beginning to God.
So no beginning, no end.
No end. Just change.
So anything that exists in our presence is somehow some part of us too.
Everything that is around us is based upon what we cast out. That's why the Bible shows you that all the animals came first. Well, what do they mean by that? Well, the animals are basically the cast-offs of man at another etheric level of its own ability, of its own existence. The cast-offs of man's thoughts become animated. They become enclosed in matter, and they come to a consciousness all themselves. So when we say that a man who is brave is lion-hearted, know that the thought that created that particular type of consciousness would then be enclosed within the coat of that consciousness and therefore take on the bearing of that consciousness. That's how life began. But most people won't even touch that because Western science needs to look into rocks and slime to find his beginning because he don't know God.
Right. Well, it's a wave. It's a frequency at the end. You know, saying it comes up to a mathematical number that can be reproduced or it can be traced. Nope. There you go again, limiting yourself.
Mathematics is limitation.
Well,
mathematics is describing limitation. The only person that described mathematics as limitlessness was Dr. Gabriel Oyibo. Even Einstein couldn't touch it.
But I'm talking about dealing with the matter, this world of matter. You can set your person on a frequency that suggests, okay, I'm going to be healthy from this point on, and you can look at what you did and you can watch yourself grow, decline, and grow, and there's going to be a mathematical way to compute that. And you know, saying because everything that our ancestors left us was math. If you look at the walls are putting out a frequency, it's putting out a tone, and you can capture that tone and take it with you, or use it for the actual knowledge it's bringing you. But
I got that. But again, remember that everything is movement, and mathematics from yesterday, if the consciousness changes, there'll be no mathematics like that in the place that the consciousness is going. Mathematics is essentially a descriptive way of the journey in consciousness. It's just the specific description, just like you would put up a signpost and say, there's a lake over here or that's over there. That's mathematics in itself. But the mathematics you're speaking about is actually describing the limitations of your consciousness at that moment and trying through symbology to give it some symmetry. Mathematics changes with consciousness.
From consciousness to consciousness, I'm only going to be able to go where I allow myself to go. If I don't want to be in the trance, I won't allow myself to be in the personal trance. But the universal trance is going on. Well, I have no choice but to exist in that because that's where I exist in.
And again, your choice was to limit yourself.
I guess what I'm saying is, okay, so as we're climbing up in consciousness, there is mathematical approaches that you can apply that can, help you to proceed a little further.
Again, beloved, mathematics ceases once you pass through the grid pass not. Mathematics is not something that you can actually begin. See, I understand what you're saying. I understand that you could mathematics. Excuse me?
Can I say this? It's a blessing to have this conversation with you because, I am the student in the matter. And proceed. And I only have one more thing to say to you, and I know you're going to take this on to the next level. So.
Okay, what I'm saying is that mathematics is essentially a description of where the consciousness perceives itself at the moment. When it begins to calculate its reasons to be, when it calculates the depth or dimensions that it is participating in, when it calculates what it is that nature is showing it, it is based on the perception of the mathematician. So the mathematician is creating a language based upon what is abstract, what cannot be seen. So mathematics is the attempt to calculate consciousness at that specific level. Once you change that, especially once Kundalini is raised, and you have now taken it directly to the first eye, there is no mathematics involved, because mathematics is another form of describing matter. Okay? What you need, what we have to do is understand the limitations of mathematics, or write mathematics in such a way that it represents limitlessness. So understand, after you have gone into a place where there is no need for mathematics, mathematics is something that you're doing external to yourself so that you can understand the internal. When that happens, when you have crossed that barrier, there's no need for mathematics. You become the mathematics. You become what it is that you try to articulate externally. The reason why you write mathematics is so that you could understand the abstract, or that which is invisible or unknown to you.
Exactly, but can you imagine, you're raising me up on another level where I can understand that, but on the masses, let me get to my point before I even go off. Okay, so in the ancient times, one drummer would sit on the right side, and the other drummer would sit on the left side. Let's say one drummer played at 100 beats per minute. The other drummer would play at 100 beats per minute, 0.5. The person in the middle, their brain wave would connect with the stereo action, and it would compute the 5. And it would match the 5. So once we started understanding that the 5 caused intelligence, then we would put ourselves in these stereo fields. And this is mathematics. So and then I'm just talking about as a raising us up on just simple levels, things that just help you to keep your mind on a higher level. But they call it binary beats today, but we did this back in the day. And it was just something simple. You would see the Albion girl, in the middle just being tranced out because the drummers were using mathematics to a point where the ear and the mind go to these frequencies. I mapped these frequencies out along in the digital world, and then I mapped them out along with the books of the Bible, and then fire, water, air, and even ether.
Think about this. I'm trying to get you out of that left brain thinking. I'm trying to get you out of that so that you need mathematics to explain your reality. There is a point where you grow that you don't need mathematics. That's what I'm trying to tell you. There's a place what you do automatically. There's a place where you come to a particular knowledge of it. You do mathematics, say Michael Jordan going up for a layup or calculating the specific distance in the arch for a jump shot. That's not something he's calculating. It's mathematics being done. It's mathematics that is being done as life. Now, those who want to sit down, contemplate, and begin to concentrate their mind into how to articulate what that arc meant and what it is, where was he standing at the particular time, how much strength he needed in order to make the arch just right so that it will go a swish. All of that is someone who is not looking, who is not participating and being the mathematics. That's for someone who wants to figure out why this God is acting like this. What makes this God like that? This is what the European does. That's why he used to put footprints down on the floor to learn to dance like us. I'm not talking about mathematics in that sense. Mathematics that frees us, like Dr. Oyibo's G-I-J, comma J equals 0. When mathematics becomes us and not something we sit around to figure out, the way the European has taken that and used it as a means for him to articulate new forms of weaponry. That's when the mathematics begins. The more you start getting into mathematics and mathematizing the world, that's what it eventually leads into. But the spiritual world becomes what it is that they try to describe of the spiritual world through mathematics.
Indeed. And caller from the 253. Rest on that point because I got to keep it moving. People got their hands up, and I want to deal in some form of equality and try to get everybody heard. All right. So moving on. Caller from the 614-887. Peace.
Peace. Hotep. What's good?
Good move. What's going on, man?
Everything is great. It's beautiful to hear your voice, Dr. Valentine. It's been a long time since we've seen each other face to face. It was in Houston, Texas, at the Shape Community Center.
Oh, wow. That was a while back, brother.
Yeah. You remember me. I asked you that question that we're building on right now. How is it that I seem to be living in at that time? I was talking about what people call deja vu. I call them time continuums, but like I was living in a perpetual deja vu continuously on top of another, and you were explaining to me then that I had shifted out of time consciousness that we knew it as to be, and that we were closer to the ancestral time. So you and I have had this conversation on a personal level, but just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, I mean, I understand where you're coming from completely as an artist, because there are things that come to me conceptually that cannot be formulated.
Amen.
I can use math if I decide to try to figure out how it come about, but a lot of it can't be used because I'm not even for sure if it has anything to do with, if it's even relevant to time.
Mm-hmm.
Or mathematics.
And the thing is, let me just finish off what you're saying there. Don't mean to cut you off. You can continue. Once you start using math to equate what you've done, then the math begins to limit what you've done. In other words, once you have put a fixed signature and an outline and blueprint to the action, calculating its drift, its size, its shape, its depth, then you become trapped by that. That's what you try to repeat. That's what you begin to do continuously and get locked into. That's where we are today.
Right. And so instead of
mathematics has created the lockdown that we're in right now. That's what created the lockdown that we're in now, mathematics.
Right. And that's the light code lockdown that you had described to us so well through the lecture you had done at that time.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. So would you say that, in a sense, inside of our bodies, that this timeless space would be what we consider to be our right brain thinking?
Well, it's a miscalculation of how we think. The Heru I within us right now, which is the colossum, is distorted because it has all kinds of filth food. It's breathing the poor air. It's drinking poor water. It's thinking poor thoughts. So what we think about is right and left brain, and what we symmetrically asphyxiate as right and left is never. That's a European's way of calculating and again mathematizing life. There is a synergy between the right and the left. When the right and the left are working together, that's when you have the God-man at its best. And you notice I say its best. So when you understand how the left and the right brain work, as a spiritual instrument, not as a calculating instrument. Because that's what we've done. We've overused the brain for material calculus, and that's why we have to break free from the cocoon that we've created based on material calculus.
Right. Yes, because I had used the meditation that you had gave me then to help me to focus certain things, and it's just ironic we having this conversation today, because that was something that you had assisted me with years ago, being able to break free through the way you described it to me then. It was like going through the dark rift in the center of the universe.
Even back then. I'm glad that you remember, beloved. It's good to know that a few people are paying heed. You should think about joining our university. Like I said, we're trying to make as many so-called apostles of the healing word as possible. And we would love you all, people with the kind of mindset that is in Brother Anpu's circle and family. We would love them to join us in our university to really get schooling, private schooling, in ways that they would not teach you. If you saw the movie that was created by a brother named Brother Nasheed called Hidden Colors, you would see that we were talking about the fact that we were not being educated by our own. We were being diseducated and indoctrinated in a deducation system. And that deducation system has been numbing our abilities, has been suppressing our abilities, has been causing us to become dysfunctional. So we put the university up with hopes to building an actual edifice of a university, but we put it into cyberspace right now for all intents and purposes because we were able to reach more people. But we put this university together for just this purpose, to have these kinds of discussions, because I defy you to tell me, any one of you all out there going to school, that you would have a conversation like this with one of your teachers.
Never.
Nope.
I know, because
thank you very much for calling in, brother.
Oh no, thank you for all of your work, and because if it wasn't for you being a pioneer, I know I wouldn't be where I'm at, and people like yourself, like Elder Blair and Bobby Hemmett, and so on and so forth. I like the ability. I like to thank you for giving me direction, because now I'm being sought after to give direction to those. So it's just a chain, and then I'm a link in the chain, and
that's the way it is. You hand the torch off. You hand off the torch. This don't belong to me. After I leave the body, what am I going to do with it? If I don't pass it on, if I don't make you greater than me, suppose I decide that I want to come through your specific genetic lineage and become your child. If I dumb you down, what am I going to be?
That's right.
So if I do not make my student, and that's where I tell all my young brothers and sisters who are out there, who are going to other brothers and sisters who are teaching them, the true teachers are the ones that are teaching you to be greater than they. If they are teaching you to worship them, to love them, to support and give them more than they need to do the work, to aggrandize them, to glorify their looks and how pretty they look in their new gator shoes and all this kind of stuff, that's pimping.
Right.
That's pimping. If they are not teaching you to be greater than they, how are you going to advance the people that you're supposed to have in your charge? You're going to pay for that. And I ain't coming back here to pay for nothing. I'm going to give as much as I can and support as much as I can the consciousness that is growing in our young people, so that when I come back, if I do choose to come back and vacation in this consciousness time zone, I don't want to be vacationing with fools.
Right.
I want to be vacationing, and I want to be having a good time with brothers and sisters that I've helped to put on that track, so that when I come back in the life cycle that I have seen, it's just like your father or your mother would say, leave the place that you have gotten as you have in your charge, leave it a little bit better than you found it.
Yep. Well, it's been a pleasure, Doctor. Thank you for answering my questions and sharing. And thank you, Brother Ampool. You know, we're going to keep this thing rocking.
Of course.
Thanks, brother.
No doubt. All right. All right, we got 13 minutes left. We'll go to another call. This call,
let's make it short so we can get as many people in.
Yeah, please just ask one question, one comment, and this will be the last call so we can get the final announcements out. Caller from the 618-558, please. 618. All right. And let me see where we at on the board. It may be a little frozen up. Can you hear me?
I'm here.
All right. Wait, somebody's line is open. I hear somebody over there. Let me see here. Yeah, I will have internet problems right now. All right. Let me see here. Caller from the 424. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, well, that could be it, Brother Phil. I thank you. You know what, to piggyback off what Brother Tamu did say, it was the Great Meeting 2. I don't know if you remember that DVD. I first got a hold of that DVD maybe about 6 to 7 years ago, maybe 6 years ago, that he was there, and it was a host of brothers, Hakeem Bey, just a whole host of brothers. And that was the first DVD that I've seen. You. I think I know you had on the Black Fast, and at that time it was like 6 years ago, at least in Philadelphia, it was like this big Phil Valentine rave that was going on, and everything that was coming out. Just had to have it. You know, you've been very, very, very instrumental into my studies. You were the first person that I consistently bought. Well, I formed a collection, when I was going to the stores to get the DVDs, and you were the first person that I started collecting. I got Phil Valentine heavy, then I went Bobby, and that was that nigga crazy. But you definitely
That's why I love
person was very instrumental, man. You was definitely instrumental to my growth, and I really want to thank you for that. Definitely. And, we got any final announcements, any final announcements, your contact information, go ahead so we can get up out of here.
Give thanks. First of all, thank you for the opportunity that you allowed us, me and my family here, to reach out to the community. And thank you, brothers and sisters, for the incredible, the head knocking that we had, that I love. The kind of exchange that we have on those levels. And I would like to also reach out to the community once more just to let them know that, first, we do have our University of Commission Sciences. Hello?
Yeah, that's somebody's line that's open that I can't get to on the switchboard. Go ahead, brother.
Okay. Just wanted to let everybody know that the University of Commission Sciences is enrolling for our summer session. We have drastically reduced our price, hoping to make it available. We are also making available our webinar that we did with Red Pill and Blue Pill and the circle of brothers that came to Brother King Simon and everyone that was involved in that webinar to promote that webinar and to promote us. The brothers who had the technology, again, I forget their names. Forgive me, brothers, because I don't know you like I know Red Pill and Blue Pill. But those of you, we ask to help us to make our transition because of the kinds of challenges that we're receiving from the courts right now. We ask you to go up to UKSNOW. That's UKSNOW.org. And right there on our home page, there's a button that says, Give Your Gift. And should you give a gift of $35 or more, we will see it. Your email will be there. And we will, when the download is ready, when the webinar has been finished, when Red Pill is finished putting the webinar together, we will send you a copy of that webinar, and we know that you won't be disappointed. We had fun doing that webinar. It's a lot of information. And for those of you who do have links to sites, I ask that you please put up our link or put a link to our website, asking people to gift to our cause to help us make this transition so that we can continue our work. Again, if you wish more information, please call area code 386. That's 386-456-9279. Again, 386-456-9279. And with that, Brother Anpu, I want to thank you again for the opportunity to reach out and address the brothers and sisters.
Indeed, you're very, very welcome, and I thank you for the opportunity as well, brother. And we keep pushing from our side to make this transition happen for you.
Thank you so much. We really, really appreciate the love, the outpouring of love from the brothers who do and the sisters who really know what our situation is. That's the thing. We don't have enough brothers and sisters to understand the urgency of our situation. If this was happening to either Sister Queen Afua or Brother Bobby Hemmett, we would have to reach out to them and do our best to, in whatever way they set up for us to help them, that we would help them. So we are returning again. Hopefully that what we have done for the community will be recognized by the community, and in so doing, help us in our hour of challenges, our needs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Indeed. Well, all right, good brother. I would definitely see you be in communication with you soon. And definitely, I'll definitely be in communication with you real soon, because I would like to actually get the wife, Dr. Alani, to come on and talk about the wonderful things that she is doing as well.
Oh, yes, you're going to be in for a treat. She is the linguist, powerful linguist, and a writer. She has her own book. Of course, people can go in and get The Wounded Womb if they want. We've had a lot of requests for The Wounded Womb, but we've also had a lot of requests for Dr. Nalani's book called 7 Steps to Healing and Wellness. They can go up to lulu.com and put those names in. Just put in Wounded Womb or put in 7 Steps to Healing and Wellness, and they'll come up with the book.
Yes, sir. All right, well, with that, family, we are up out of here. Again, I thank everybody for coming out, for their support. Again, visit the website, myastrologycoach.com. Anybody got any questions, comments dealing with this 4-week online astrology course that is coming up, very basis of getting to know yourself, so-called Olmec Mayan energy is finally being cleared up, but we have that course that we're offering as well, offering that as a different time system, timekeeping system to advance us in consciousness. That will be available June 26th. For those who plan on attending the summer solstice celebration, just visit myastrologycoach.com and click on Events tab. All right? And with that, I will leave y'all in peace, and I will see y'all later. Peace.